For a landlubber family who knew almost nothing about sailing, we've come a long way. We've got a long way more we hope to go and are far from any kind of expert. But with our experiences thus far, Megan and I reflected on a few things we'd wish we'd known as we started out. 20. Sailing is not the hard part. When you tell your land friends, hey, I bought a boat, I'm going to go sailing, they may ask, like, hey, do you know how to sail? The better question is, do you know how to maintain systems? Because that's what you're doing. You're maintaining your engine, the plumbing, the electrical, like, all those things are more important, arguably, and certainly harder to learn, I would argue, than sailing itself. 19. Speaking of systems, stuff breaks. It breaks on new boats, it breaks on old boats. Things break. You go through the 7 stages of grief, and then you fix it. And it's funny, even talking to the old salts out here, how you learn things and how you learn your boat is by fixing it. Anytime something is broken, yeah, I fumble around, I'm real inefficient at fixing it the first time, but then I get way more confident, and the next time it goes way faster, and I know my boat that much better. 18.
Whatever family issues, baggage you have on land, you'll be bringing it onto the boat, and it's going to be compounded by the fact that you're living in tight quarters. Things get more stressful. Yes, it's going to be a lot of rainbows and dolphins and sunshine, but it's also going to test your relationships, and just have that expectation and be willing to work at it. It's worth it, but cruising does not solve your problems.
17.
If you were not homeschooling back on land, the transition can be really jarring to not only living in tight quarters with your family, but now also schooling, becoming your child's teacher as well as a parent, and being together 24/7 in these close quarters. See what works best. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourselves to get it right. The biggest lesson that I can give to you is to remember that love is the biggest thing that you can teach your children. And yes, knowledge is important, and I'm talking to Nate here too, but mutual respect and fostering that loving relationship with your children. Both schooling, homeschooling is not a one-size-fits-all. I think that's also really an important lesson, that no two children are the same, no two families are the same, and even as your children grow, a curriculum might have worked last year, but it's not feeling like it's working for you this year. It's hard. Schooling's still one we're working on. It's a challenge. Definitely. Just be kind and gentle to yourself, be kind and gentle to your children too, and it'll pay off.
16.
You're going to entertain a lot more than you did on land life. People just pop over, you pull out whatever you have in your fridge or in your pantry, and nobody has any expectations. Everybody's boat's a mess. Everybody has limited things in their pantry because they're in remote islands just like you are. And it's really all about just being together and forming that community and that friendship.
15. It's always Friday in a way.
Yeah, there's a party happening anytime if you want one.
And party, like, it's not wild or crazy, but just like folks getting together for sundowners daily. Or
lunchdowners.
Yeah, it happens. So it can be tough to set boundaries. You know, what the rhythm that you may have had that worked on land may not work out here. You may find yourself drinking more out here than you did on land, and it's just something you're going to need to be aware of. 14.
One of the most disappointing things that I've discovered while being out here on the water is the amount of screen time that our family has fallen into. We thought that coming out here would help us to become more unplugged, and the exact opposite has happened, especially now with the wonderful addition of Starlink in our lives. Screen time and internet access is much more readily available. So whether your kids are watching it on your boat or somewhere else, screens are ever present, even here out on the water.
13. So with all things moving the boat, stay calm, but go slowly. Pulling the anchor up, Take your time. Don't stress the windlass too much. You'll get there. Moving the boat, reef early and often. We've learned that the hard way. Approaching a dock, do it at a snail's pace. Putting the anchor down, go slowly. Let the wind and the current work for you as opposed to just revving it at 3,000 RPMs in reverse and calling it a day. Go slow. You've got the time. Be kind to the boat. Be kind to your boat systems and parts, and they'll be kind to you.
Yeah, and stress in those situations does not help anything go easier. Don't yell at your crew members, and take a deep breath.
12.
Bathing is overrated.
Period, full stop.
You just don't shower as much as you did on land life.
Do you go around smelling terrible?
Only when it's been really, really hot and sweaty. Sometimes. But everybody else smells terrible too.
11. Clearing in and clearing out. At least for me, when leaving Florida, that was intimidating. I kind of expected an official to ask for some document I'd never heard of, or 6 copies of something that I didn't have. You have your ship registration papers, you've got your passports, and really that's what you need. And if you don't have something, talk to them, be patient. There's one country in which I did not have a clearance, a clear out form from the country before. Chatted for a while. Eventually they made me write a note about why I didn't have it, and then they cleared me in. I'm not saying that there aren't countries in the world where it would go more poorly than that, but you've got your documents. There aren't really that many that you need. Be patient, and you'll get cleared in, you'll get cleared out just fine. 10. Propane lasts a long time. We have a couple propane tanks. I thought that we were going to be constantly filling those, like constantly running out. We filled our propane tanks once between Florida to Grenada and felt like we were using them all the time. 9.
Daily routines are crucial. I think it makes everybody feel more comfortable and more secure, especially the kids. This lifestyle is so much about not having a predictable routine that any little bit that you can give to yourselves and your children, meals at a certain time or school at a certain time, scheduled family time and predictable chores, those things will really reduce the stress and help your family to work better. And coexist better together.
8. WhatsApp. Everybody uses it. Text, group text, phone calls. It's just what people use. At first it didn't make sense to me. Well, why don't you just text? But it's universal. WhatsApp.
Yeah, get a WhatsApp account for sure. And then be prepared for the overwhelming amount of WhatsApp groups that will instantly appear in your life.
7.
The other big one is no foreign land. Don't be afraid to be a kid boat stalker if you are a kid boat. There are hundreds of kid boats out here. Sometimes it feels like that they're really hard to find. And No Foreign Land is a great resource. They have a beautiful map that highlights where kid boats are.
6. All right, believe it or not, captains don't get seasick. Yeah, I'm sure there's exceptions to this rule. I know there's exceptions to this rule, but in talking to quite a few boaters out there, and then even my own experience on boats prior to being a captain and then being a captain, I don't know if it's just a level of responsibility or how you're looking at things or your awareness. I don't know. You just don't feel like cargo. You feel like you're driving. I don't know. Captains tend to get seasick way less than others. 5.
You will not catch as much fish as you think you're going to. We had these great hopes of having fresh caught fish 2 or 3 times a week on the dinner menu. It's much harder than you think it's going to be.
At least here in the Caribbean.
At least for us.
Maybe, and at least for us. I'm sure there are people that do more, and I'm sure there are locations we'll have better luck in, but we've struggled. 4. Solar and lithium are king. You want as much of both as you can have. It's just a stress reducer. 3.
There is no privacy on a boat. You just won't find any. Small quarters, small living spaces, thin walls. I mean, you can literally hear the little krill outside your boat making their little happy eating noises.
2.
Before we moved on the boat, I was a sun goddess. I loved the sun. Being out here, we are constantly looking for little tiny pockets of shade wherever they are. So invest in a good shade cover. We are about to make one ourselves.
1. Don't give up. It applies to fixing things. The only way it doesn't get fixed is if you give up. But getting out here, if you dream of getting out here, don't give up. It can take a while, it can take years. When you jump in, especially if you don't have any experience like us, you'll think that everybody knows more than you. And you're right. Everybody will know more than you. But then a day, 2 go by. You rapidly learn, and you'll think you're going to be the only newbies out here. You're not. There's all kinds of other people who have taken the same leap. You won't be alone. You'll learn. Cruisers will teach you. Before you know it, there'll be things that you'll be sharing with others.
The cruising community is your lifeline out here. They are amazing. You will find so many wonderful, intelligent, resourceful people. You will find amazing friends and people that are willing to help you no matter what.